at Bramlett Elementary School in Georgia.
Oh, okay. It's like an anthology video. I see. So, so we should hold on. So most of it's me.
Is it though?
Of what does FR stand for? Is that Friar? Is that what that refers to? That's how you shorten father.
Ever since he was little, we didn't have to tell him he liked dolls more than he liked trucks.
We already
he
saw
liked,
this part though.
Dresses more than he liked jeans. He liked pink
Like
more
all
than he
these
liked blue.
response.
You think that, wait a second, that's how you know that your little boy is
That's
actually
why
a
we
girl?
need to add to it.
No, the only way you know is if your little boy says so.
And my little boy says he's Spider-Man, but that doesn't make...
Wow, very smart, very high IQ response. Yes, excellent. Except Spider-Man is a character in a comic book, and gender is an identity. So in order...
Hang on. That's not a good response, though. Saying it doesn't count because gender is an identity, but Spider-Man's not? Like, what are the rules of gender that say Spider-Man's not a gender?
I guess Spider-Man is not something you can identify as.
Why not?
It's only who you are, I guess.
That's not very progressive of him.
I watched Trent Horn's video that he's watching right now, but I did not go and watch Father Mike Schmidt's video on this. Father Mike Schmidt is saying that's not a big deal.
He points out, like, yeah, wearing a dress, it's an arbitrary social standard. It doesn't make you a woman.
Yeah.
Vaush was, like, pausing it too soon and being like, that's not what it means to be a woman. It's no, we're agreeing.
Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think,
But then the second layer of this, he's saying, oh, yeah, it's such a straw man to say that a kid Spider-Man, you just said you have to ask him how they identify, right?
Yeah.
So if a child is persistently over years saying he's Spider-Man, wouldn't your logic say that you have to accept that?
Yeah.
To determine an element of a person's identity, there's no empirical measure for it. You would have to, like...
No empirical measure for identifying as Spider-Man? There's also no empirical measure for identifying as a woman.
Yeah. Gender identity is specifically, it's tied to social constructs or whatever, and it's on a spectrum. None of the definitions have anything to do with empirical data other than self-ID, I guess.
Ways that no person could, like, objectively determine. Like, how do you objectively determine what a person's favorite food is without just relying on what they tell you? You know? Like what...
Okay, that's fine, but then if you're saying we can't measure it, you just have to go by what they tell you, then Trent's kid saying he's Spider-Man, you do have to accept.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you saying that's a straw man?
What about the identity gamer? Like, how do you go about that without relying on a person's subjective feelings and how they self-express, right? What if they just, like, you know, it's gonna be one of those videos. The Spider-Man. Yep. It's gonna be one of those.
Get true. It's horrifying that children are being abused in this way, and Vaush is just wrong.
Abuse? What? Wait, abuse? Asked what their gender identity is? So, you know,
he's obviously not saying that asking their identity is abuse. They're saying when they take that and run with it is when it becomes
and actually apply it to their lives.
Catholic too. I mean, you guys know all. Well, with you guys being the expert on child abuse and all, you know, I have to say that's pretty informed.
So, Mr. Facts and Data, do you have any data to back up your claim that Catholics abuse at a higher rate than the general male population? Probably not. You probably never even looked it up. It's just
he definitely hasn't.
But it's just a common, like, oh, it's like, yeah, if the Catholic Church...
Culturally, we have a really bad rep, which I think is a good thing, because priests should be held to a higher standard. But at the same time, statistically...
And any administrator that, you know, shuffles people around and hides things under the rug, obviously, we denounce that. We agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the implication is that priests are more likely to abuse than the average male population.
Correct. So they assume that, and they also assume that these other organizations do not hide it.
Like Harvey Weinstein?
Hollywood? I'm saying... There was a big abuse scandal, and there was a lot of cover-up. So most people will say the large-scale cover-up is way bigger with the church. That's what they say.
And that's a fair criticism. But him basically implying,
oh,
you're Catholic, you must be okay with child abuse, is just, unfounded.
Criticism.
Wrong on this, about this kind of evidence being what is used to diagnose children as young as toddlers as being transgender.
What does that even mean? Children as young as toddlers being trans. I don't even understand what that means.
You can see that in this now deleted video from Boston Children's Hospital.
What?
Like, does he
what was hard to understand about that? Does he just think that toddlers don't identify a certain way, or is he
doesn't
saying
think
that
toddlers can have gender dysphoria? Because that's not very progressive.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves. And
this person's full of shit. How could you possibly?
You just said earlier, how do you know how someone identifies? You ask them. So if a child is able to express how they feel, are you saying that's too young? Like, I don't understand.
Here, wait, let's let him finish. I want to see what
you know that about someone based on, like, the way a toddler babbles. Yeah, no, it's obviously wrong. Overeager statements. I mean, if it was taken down, wouldn't that be an indication of fault from Boston Children's Hospital? Like, is this meant to...
So this is going to be, bad for him. So let's go back to the favorite food thing. I think if you're a toddler, let's say you like oranges, but you hate bananas. Mm-hmm. Like, you always refuse bananas when your mom wants to give them to you, but you always want oranges. Is that not enough to safely assume that they prefer oranges over bananas?
Babies can obviously have preferences.
Yeah.
And Vaush, to his credit, he will say, the first time a toddler says, I'm the other sex, that alone, they're not going to be like, okay. But he would say, if it's persistent over a number of years, then we have to accept it. It's like, but why not for any other?
Insinuate that every single advocate for trans people believes this thing that was taken down by Boston Children's Hospital, or that this might be like an overzealous expression. I would say you could get signs, right? Like, for instance, a lot of people who come out as gay when they're like 20 or something, a lot of people in their lives will look back on their life and say, like, I could tell, right? How early is too early to tell? Because that's a pretty common thing, you know? Like, 10? I don't know. Like, depending, a lot of it's post hoc justification, but none of it really matters. At the end of the day, you're deferring to what people, what people identify as.
This whole, looking back, I can tell, that's just like confirmation bias. Like, you just know the answer, so now you're looking for things that justify the position you now know is true. So it's like, yeah, if I find out that someone's gay and I've known them for 10 years, I'll look back and be like, oh, when they did this, maybe that's because they were gay, or maybe this or that. It's not a real thing to say.
Seriously.
Like, if you really knew, then you would have said something before. Like, yeah. So, yeah, how old can a child identify? He's saying he doesn't even know. So, I don't know.
So, he was setting up Trent's point about his kid being Spider-Man, basically saying, oh, it's too young, saying this is too young, but then he's saying, well, there's no real age. So it's like, what is your position?
Parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically.
So that's obviously a hyperbolic statement.
Obviously,
which is
so
why
everyone
she said
agrees
that
that's
way.
stupid.
But yeah, obviously
So
you can tell that from the minute. You could no more tell the gender of an infant from the moment of birth than you could tell what food it will like or what clothing it'll like or whatever, you know?
What it will like, that's a future prediction or whatever. But, like, as a baby, you'll know what the kid likes and
Kids will
won't
have
like.
preferences.
So to say, oh, yeah, that's his favorite blankie, like, is that a wrong assumption from a mother? If the kid won't leave home without his blankie, to say, oh, that's his favorite, that's his blankie or whatever. Because he's not old enough to actually say, oh, yeah, I have this sentimental attachment to this blanket because XYZ, like, yeah, that doesn't
You can make
exist.
reasonable inferences based on, like, environmental factors, but that's it. But yeah, it's obvious hyperbole.
And actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the, quote, opposite gender toys.
I think that this is for the most part ill-informed and overzealous. I do think that there's some nugget of truth in here, that if you have, like, a young boy who's a son, right? Like, they're your son, they're your biological son, and they just, this
Is
young
son a
boy
gender?
does not want to get their hair cut, is insistently playing with girls' toys. I don't think that makes them a trans girl. I just think that
Pause. Based.
Yeah, but
he's right.
Where is he going to go from there?
He's right.
you should be aware of that. So in the future, if that kid of yours has any conversations they want to have with you about their identity, maybe when they're a bit older, they can think a little bit more. They're not like literally like 5 years old. You might be like more thoughtful and receptive to that conversation. That's what I'm thinking about here.
So if Trent's son, when he's 13, says, Dad, I really feel like Spider-Man, then we have to accept it?
I don't know.
Right? Like, for instance, if there was a kind of like a fruity kid, many such cases, by the way, and you're delusional if you don't think that's the case. Like, I don't think that means you should go like, hey, you're gay, kid, you're gay, actually, you're going to be gay in the future, you're gay now. I don't think you should do that. I just think that you should look and you should think, okay,
Keep an eye on
God
it.
makes us all in unique and different ways. And just be ready for future convos. Was that good? Did I plug in the like religious?
Okay,
angle pretty well
whoa.
there?
So he's still assuming that the kid is gay just because he's like, he said fruity?
Yeah.
If a kid is effeminate as an 8 or 9 year old, why do you have to get prepared for future conversations? What is it? He's saying don't assume, but he's assuming.
But
anyway,
be on the watch.
Whatever.
Things like that.
You can also see the same pattern in other kids paraded around in the media as being transgender.
You don't want to play with boys' toys.
That's not an infant. Is that what infants look like? I feel like this is a totally different topic now. I thought what we
Vaush
were
just hangs on the
idea
wrong
of
points all the
diagnosing
time.
An infant is trans, but this is like, I mean, they're a kid, but like this is like a teenager,
You girls' toys. You didn't want to play with wear girls' clothes from a tiny age.
Yeah, I always.
Wait, hold on. This individual is taller than
You
their
want to
mother.
play with wear girls' clothes.
I feel like this was a bad example.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because like there are a lot of
I know.
videos of
It
much
looks like
younger
the person
people.
here is taller than the other two on the couch. How old is this? Is this even a teenager? They're like 20?
I always.
It's actually the world's biggest toddler.
I understand this isn't a toddler, but it is a minor. Vaush knows what they look like very well. No, I'm just kidding. Cut that out. I'm just kidding. I think it's safe to assume this is a minor, and that's why her parents are also on the couch with them. And they don't seem taller. It seems like they're just sitting further up on the couch, but Vaush wouldn't notice.
The only thing I really liked was babies, like baby dolls, because I just like babies. But apart from that, I was really heavily into like sports, and I liked skateboards, and I liked all this other stuff. But I was
So this is a trans guy, and obviously one who's transitioned, if for no other reason than judging like from the voice, This is like super fucking. What is this? What point is this meant to prove? This is incredibly common. A gay person who's 20 will go, yeah, when I was growing up, like I didn't like playing with the girls at all. I just like playing with the boys or whatever. Like this is like. This isn't even gender ideology. This is just like an acknowledgement of how humans work at a very basic level,
never into girls' toys, dolls, princesses, anything pink.
Also, how desperate do you have to be to prove the idea that gender ideology advocates are like transing the babies or whatever, that you reach for a single deleted video and a completely innocuous testimony from one trans person? Like, what is this, like a medical literature kind of deal? Where are we going?
Pause. I think he's just trying to show examples. I don't think he was trying to like cherry pick information as if there's not a whole host of younger kids than this getting blockers or whatever else.
To approve these points.
at all.
What the data shows is that in many of these cases, transgender identity is related to social pressure from peers or parents.
Really? That's interesting. Can you prove that point? Because there's tons of evidence to indicate that there's social pressure to be cisgender. Where's the evidence to your point? Because the chart we're looking at right now doesn't have anything to do with that point.
Not from an actual biological condition. We know this because European countries are pausing transgender treatments for youth.
If that's not how evidence works?
Let him finish, but okay.
Wait, what? We know for a fact the reason people are transing is because they're being pressured into transing, and we know that because some political committees in Europe have halted trans healthcare for minors? What's the connection?
Healthcare.
Yeah.
But
no,
anyway,
I don't think he was saying we know this because they did this. We're saying the reason this country is doing it, or these countries are doing it, due to some third piece.
That is why European countries are restricting it. Yeah, exactly.
Back to 2024 study from the Netherlands that followed transgender youth over the course of 15 years showed that only 2% of teens increased in gender dysphoria. But
sure, we can look at it. Have we gone over this one? Wait, why would you want them to increase in gender dysphoria? What does that mean? Oh, hold on. I have a feeling this is being misrepresented. Development of gender non.
He probably read straight from the study. I know that's misrepresented.
I don't know the study to know what it really.
I haven't looked at it.
Early adulthood. All right, we found the study. Oh, it's just the abstract. It's not like that. Okay. Adolescence is an important period for the development of gender identity. True. We studied the development of gender non-contentedness, i.e., unhappiness with being the gender aligned with one's sex, from early adolescence to young adulthood, and its association with self-concept. Wait, hold on. Gender non-contentedness and gender dysphoria don't necessarily mean the same thing. You could probably find lots of cisgender men and women who are not happy with the gender aligned with their sex, but not in a dysphoric way, more in a like, I'm unhappy with the expectations kind of way, right? Like a woman in 14.
Okay, pause. So he's saying you might be a woman and you might identify as a woman, but you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom and cook and clean. Is that what he's about to say?
I think that's what he's saying. But going back to the kid on the couch,
yeah,
she was saying, I like sports, whatever, and saying that. So
yeah.
So you can be someone who doesn't like your gender expectations, therefore you're trans, or you could be, no, I'm not trans, I just don't like my gender expectations. It's like, so what is the point of bringing up gender expectations? Or, you know, sports versus dolls or whatever.
Country, France, might like being a woman, you know, herself, but not the broader social standards. You know, that's not like dysphoria. That's just, well, anyway, that's sort of a category error, maybe. Participants were 2,700 adolescents, 53% male, tracking data from 6 waves. Gender non-contentness was assessed with the item, I wish to be opposite sex. Oh, okay, well, that's dysphoria there. Okay.
But it's like, what's the difference between gender non-contentness and transgender?
I guess contentness, like he's saying, it would be like, oh, I'm a man.
Saying, I am a man, but I reject all social standards of being a man. What does that mean?
Well, for them, sounds like you should be trans. But,
yeah. For me, I would say no.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. It would mean, I guess, discontentedness. You still, even if you really don't want to be a man, you haven't taken the step to become a woman by identifying that way, I guess, is the only difference.
But what does it mean to say I am a man, but I reject all social expectations?
Not reject, it's discontent. I'm unhappy that I am expected to do these things. So it's saying, oh yeah, I'm a woman, but I'm.
So why do you want to still be a man, or why do you still feel like a man?
I don't know. I don't know.
So I'm just
well,
saying,
you probably don't want to do either. Most people probably don't want either. People don't want any expectations of what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
No one wants responsibility or or accountability or anything like that. So people are going to be discontented about those things. But
well, that's the thing with the dichotomy between feminism and transgenderism. Because we'll say like, I don't. These social expectations are oppressive, but then also. These expectations are what makes me a woman. So it's like, I don't get it.
Shout out to the TERFs.
Sex for the youth and support of all 6 waves. Behavioral and emotional problems were measured by total scores of the scale of all 6 waves. Self-concept was assessed at age 11 using the global self-worth and physical appearance subscales. Okay. In early adolescence, 11% of participants reported gender non-contentedness. So early would be when you're what, 11? Okay. And the prevalence decreased with age and was 4% at the last follow-up, around age 26. Okay, makes sense. 3 developmental trajectories of gender non-contentedness were identified. No gender non-contentedness, 78%, so people who are never non-contented with their gender. Decreasing gender non-contentedness, 19%, and increasing gender non-contentedness, 2%. Wait, how does this even remotely prove the point that was being made about how people are being socially pressured to trans? Even if we just took the 2% of increasing gender non-contentedness right here, this is more than the percent of trans people. Is it? Wait, wouldn't this be an indication not only that 2% of the population is transgender, but what's more, they're transgender from 11 onward? Wait, doesn't this prove the opposite of your point? Your argument is that the only reason that people transition is due to social pressure too, which, okay, yeah, there's so much social...
I thought this isn't making another point, I thought.
No, I thought what Trent was saying is, this study shows that if you track children at an early age who are not content with their gender, over time, that percentage goes down. So I think his point is that if we catch that early and we start to say, oh, I guess you might be trans, let's like investigate that, it's kind of not a good idea because naturally it's going to go down. And then once you get there, if they're 18 and they still feel that way, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm sure Vaush's point is basically like, okay, we don't trans them right away, we wait. But it's like, how long do you wait? And then, I don't know. So I don't really know if this was the best study for Trent to point out. but also it's not like, I don't think it proves Vaush's point either.
Pressure to do that. That's so true. And then this is like, well, actually, if you break people down based on their gender non-contentedness, it turns out that fully 1 in 50 people from age 11 onward.
Now, is it 1 in 50, or is it 1 in 50 of those who at age 11 had gender non-contentness? Because 2%
I think it's
does
out
seem
of
really high.
the 2,700 adolescents or whatever. So you can't just take a study like this and say.
And they're saying they're defining gender non-contentness as
wishing to be. I wish to be the opposite sex.
So is that accurate? That 1 in 50 people wish to be the opposite sex by the time they're.
This is saying people who did not have gender discontentedness.
Wait, gender non-contentedness? In self-report, early adolescence, 11% basically want to be the opposite sex. Over time, it decreased to 4%.
Yeah. But
89% are fine with their sex.
Yeah. There might be like a
trajectory, and then it goes down to 78.
Yeah, I don't know where the.
So yeah, I just don't know the study well enough to say whether it proves either way.
Let's use the terms from the study, I guess. This is saying 11% of kids around 11, or on the early end of the spectrum, 11% said, I wish to be the opposite sex. That dropped down to 4% by the end. For the people who never had that, the 78% of people from the initial study at 11, that increased to 2% of them ended up changing their mind. So after 11. So that's all that this 2% is. It's not saying 2% of all people. It's saying 2%, it raised by 2%. The 78% of people, 2% of them ended up increasing. It doesn't even say just became. So I guess it might have been like a 1 to 10 how dissatisfied. Like I don't. That's why.
I don't like.
And there's only the abstract, so I can't even really.
And like maybe I'll just concede point to Vaush. This wasn't a great study to prove Trent's point.
Sure, I really don't care. Yeah.
Also, the whole gender sex. I don't really care about the.
I don't care about studies really.
In terms of like, even if you can prove to me that gender reassignment surgery and all that stuff is good, in terms of like helps their mental health improve, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to support it.
Correct.
Right. Because you can find studies, like very strong studies, that show that being religious improves your state of life.
Yeah. Overall happiness,
but also just like
purpose.
You know, watch Michael Jones versus Matt Dillahunty on that. He gets destroyed.
Yeah.
But I'm sure even if Vaush recognizes that, he won't be like, he'll still try to convince people that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So he puts the truth over well-being.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing with this.
Are not only wanting to change their sex, but increasingly so with time.
To add to that, even if this is a method that works, transitioning kids when they're younger, should we not look to other things that might be more safe or more prudent if we think that reassignment stuff is bad?
Such as taking pressure off of social norms. Like, not saying that, only women can do this, only men can.
Yeah. Which I think trans advocates are the biggest proponents of gender stereotypes that there are right now, but yeah.
So, okay, I don't know what this is meant to prove. You get a lot of these, though. Like, people very aggressively misinterpret studies, to prove...
That's true. I'll give them that.
To prove whatever. I guess I just wish they would be honest and just acknowledge the fact that they don't really have much of a, theory basis for what they believe in. They just don't like it because it's, icky. Like, trans people is, icky, I wish they'd be...
What?
I think that's very obviously not what Trent Horn believes. Yeah. But, yeah.
I wish they'd be clear about that. This, if anything, this completely validates my perspective on the matter, but okay.
But 19...
No, exactly.
I also don't know what his perspective on the matter is. Because number one, he probably doesn't take a hard and fast stance. He's probably changing every day.
You saw his debate with Dr. Bogardus, right?
Yeah.
Like he's anti-realist.
He's going to be an abolitionist.
Gender abolitionist, but also self-ID.
Okay. Became more confident in their authentic sexual identity, and 78% were unchanged one way or the other.
It's not at all surprising that as you age, you would grow more comfortable with your identity. That's literally what aging does.
Wait, comfortable with your birth identity or your chosen identity?
I don't know.
Did you know that as people get older, they tend to be more sure of their identity? Yes, I am aware of that. I was once myself 11, and now I am 30. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at the same time, that goes to show that when you're a teenager, if you think you're one thing or another thing, you should wait it out. Like that sounds like you should wait.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good argument. Against,
if either he's not saying, most of the time you come to terms. He's saying, when you get older, you get more settled in who you are. So it's like, why not wait? And I don't know.
Per se, the results of the current study might help adolescents to realize that it is normal to have some doubts about one's identity and one's gender identity during this age period, and that this is also relatively common.
Yeah, that's, yeah, of course, that's true. Yeah.
I think they're just not on the same wavelength.
Okay. That's with the cadence, because he thinks that's a counter argument, but he doesn't seem to understand that advocates for transgender rights don't say that the nanosecond a young boy picks up a Barbie that they should have estrogen force-fed down their gullet.
Yeah, both of them are just talking past each other. Well, I guess
I think maybe.
Well, I guess Trent Horn's not. I guess he is responding to Vaush, but he's not talking past Vaush. But
it's just something that's arbitrary. Skirts, that women wear skirts, is arbitrary. That women play with dolls or over trucks is arbitrary.
Hold on, wait. If you really think it's arbitrary, then, Mr. Priestman, you shouldn't have any issue whatsoever with
Mr. Priestman's crazy, but
cross-dressing.
The fact that a red traffic light means stop and a green one means go is arbitrary. We could have reversed them. But even if it's arbitrary...
Great analogy by Trent Horn.
I
love
like
this.
it, though.
I know, but I'm saying this is amazing, but Mr. Aqua is not going to enjoy this.
Acting in contradiction to them is still really bad for you.
Explain to me how exactly it's bad for you to wear a dress as a guy. I would love it if you could complete that. I would love it if you...
I would say it's only bad to wear a dress as a guy because the current standard is that women wear dresses.
This is a good point. So obviously,
hold on. So with the traffic stop analogy, if red meant go and green meant stop, it would be bad to go on green.
Right.
That's what we're saying. So we're saying since dresses are currently, and it could change in the future, and I'm not opposed to that. Currently, women wear dresses. So for guys to wear dresses, bad might not be the right word, but confusing.
Yeah. And we're at a point in society where if a man wears a pink T-shirt, no one gets confused by that. If a man's wearing a dress, it's like, is he trans?
Correct.
So, and you know, priests wear cassocks, which are kind of like dresses if you think about it, but no one
thinks that.
No one's ever confused about is he actually a woman?
Yeah.
So to Vaush's point, what is wrong with a man wearing a dress? Nothing is wrong, and that's kind of his point.
Correct.
But in the context of society, if you are wearing a dress in a intentionally oppositional manner as a way to like try to destroy the norms that exist, I don't know. And there's one kind of good point, which is like, okay, how do these standards change? How does it go from boys wearing pink to girls wearing pink?
No idea.
At some point, someone has to kind of go against the grain. So it's like, yeah, if cross-dressing, if it becomes a thing where it's like male fashion starts liking dresses, that's one thing. And that can organically, you know, change over time. It's another thing for men to just be like, I'm going to wear a dress because I just want to be...
Because I can be masculine and wear a dress.
Gender non-conforming.
Yeah.
And I don't think Trent or Father Mike would say that's like bad, like in itself, but it's like, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's basically just like, why are you purposely subverting social norms?
Exactly, yeah.
You could complete that.
Likewise, pink used to be a boy's color and blue used to be a girl's color. But social norms help clue us into biological realities.
Wait. How do social norms clue us into biological realities if the pink-blue...
I think it clues us in because if someone's wearing a dress, I think, oh, that's a woman.
Right.
That's what he meant. He didn't mean
Vaush is
wearing...
Vaush
is immediately not going to know what he's saying.
He's misunderstanding us to think that there's some biological connection between pink and female.
Yeah, which is not what Trent
is saying.
He's saying, currently, if you would wear a dress versus a shirt and tie, you would... That is signifying what your biology is.
Dynamic used to be opposite. What is it cluing us into? What does that even mean? What? The color... well, it used to be biologically the color pink was male, but now we recognize biologically the color blue is male. This is what I mean. This is what happens when I was going to say religious types, but like it's reactionaries in general, try to do the data thing. They're like so laughably out of their depth. They're using the terms and they're structuring the arguments the way you would think a scientifically minded person would, but they have no clue. What do you mean? These, you know, they may be arbitrary social norms, but they cue us into biological realities. What? Huh?
And so purposely transgressing them in order to subvert biology isn't good for you.
So when they switched the blue and the pink, was that them subverting biology? Was it, do you subvert biology if you wear like a pink summer suit?
He's not saying that wearing pink is subverting biology. He's saying by wearing pink in a way to try and come off as being a woman is subverting biology. You know,
to a Florida wedding, like you're violating a social law. What does it mean? This again, like they're like, well, okay, This is exactly what I mean. You're religious. Why don't you just say God wants men to wear blue and girls to wear pink? Like, it's just as bullshit.
That's not what he believes.
Because, he doesn't believe that.
It's straw man, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least then you're not pretending to be deferring to some kind of just do, because that's what you really think, right? You don't actually...
No.
It's so stupid.
Human person. We just shouldn't be confusing people like this.
By confuse. Yep. If a girl wears blue jeans, God forbid, no one has any idea what's going on anymore. So I like how the opening was with the traffic light example, where the obvious rejoinder with that would be, well, if you stop paying attention to the traffic lights and ignore the colors because they're arbitrarily chosen, then you start hurting people because there's a safety standard that we enforce socially, and then the safety standard analogy goes completely out the window. And it's just like, don't confuse people by wearing blue as a woman,
Oh, she's absolutely adorable. Oh, sorry. He's dressed all in pink.
Hey, whoa, hold on. Sorry. I noticed that Pam is wearing some blue in her scarf. Is this a violation of biological norms? Is she confusing people?
Scarf? You mean her...
It's her shirt, yeah. Just wondering. Pam does dress like a man sometimes. She wears the button down. And she wears a pantsuit later on in the series.
Pam is a man? Yeah, I guess so. Or something.
Oh, sorry. He's dressed all in pink. That's his favorite color. Oh, that's fun for him.
Father Mike is just...
Okay.
His favorite color.
What is that clip meant to demonstrate, apart from that it's from The Office? I'm not being facetious. I don't know what argument that was meant.
So it's obviously going over his head. Here's the thing. Yeah, with Trent's traffic example was obviously a very extreme version where it's like, if you don't follow this, people will die in car accidents. He's not saying if a girl wears blue, people are going to die. The point of the Office clip is with a baby who's a boy wearing pink, every social norm, because the baby can't speak, tells us, oh, that's a girl. So her purposely doing that, yes, it doesn't lead to anyone dying, but you are basically, without saying it, you are saying, this is my daughter.
Correct.
So it's like...
The mother is directly misleading.
It's putting... Yes, it's misleading.
People to believe the child is
directly or indirectly misleading, causing unnecessary confusion. His point about Pam having a blue shirt is like, okay, no one looks at her blue dress shirt and says, that must be a man. Because obviously every other part of her hair, like if she was wearing a blue shirt and she chopped her hair off and she, I don't know, did all these other things. You added those all things. With the baby, literally all you can go off is the clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like by the mom putting him in a pink onesie, that's what Trent is saying. Like you're intentionally confusing people.
Correct.
You're not causing people to die. It's just an example. And obviously it went over your head.
Yeah, yes.
But it was a nice clip from The Office.
Saying that in many cases, a child who merely has gender non-conforming behavior ends up being shoehorned with a transgender diagnosis.
Something which somehow has just not been proven, despite nearly a decade of conservatives trying to say that that's what's happening, you know? Literally a decade, over and over again, of conservatives saying, oh, no one's actually trans, children are being groomed into it, somehow unsupported by the evidence, with an incredibly low desistance rate, a very, very high rate of continuing through transition.
Okay, and here's an interesting thing. If you have one girl who over time consistently says, I feel like a boy because I like sports and I like playing with toy trucks and et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the Tom girl who also says, I like sports, I like playing with toy truck, I like hanging out with the boys, but I'm a girl. Vaush is saying clearly there's this like clear difference. One identifies as a boy, another identifies as a girl. But you haven't shown how these two are different. You could just say that the tomboy is in denial about being a boy.
Yeah.
Like, because there's no, when you talk about empirical, like the only thing that's different is what they say. Yeah. Which just goes back to like Trent's kid being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, no. Now, look, as always, I will be fair here. With literally anything, social or medical, false positives can exist. There will be, just as a numbers game, there will be like some number of people who later detransition or who were even like kind of pressured into it by overly zealous doctors. This can be the case with literally any medical procedure, right? A medical procedure might not be fully necessary, but a doctor feels like it might be, but maybe they're not speaking like in a fully informed way. So, you know, like this stuff always happens in literally all fields, right? And the goal should be to minimize it. But the way you
and I think, detransitioner doesn't disprove transition.
Correct. But what I have to say is for kids, even up to like 12, 13, 14, what do they have to base gender identity on other than social stereotypes? Yeah. My mom does this. My friends at school who are girls do this. Mm-hmm. I find myself enjoying playing with the boys at recess instead of playing with the girls at recess. All they're basing it on is I do actions or I have tendencies in the same way as these male people do. So I must be like them because outwardly I do the same things, I enjoy the same things, I like the same thing. Bring that out there.
Procedure might not be fully necessary, but a doctor feels like it might be, but maybe they're not speaking like in a fully informed way. So, you know, like this stuff always happens in literally all fields, right? And the goal should be to minimize it. But the way you minimize it isn't just by removing the procedure altogether, because then far, far, far more people get hurt, right? Like if you just go, well, triple bypass heart surgery has the potential to be misused, so nobody gets it. You're not actually helping people very much, right? You have to proportion it in line with the evidence. Of course, in reality, when it comes to people being pressured into their identity, people get pressured to be cis and straight. You're a Catholic, you know this. Come on. The only reason you don't think that is because you think those are the normal identities. So you're just being pressured into normalcy or return to normalcy. But that is, you are literally doing the thing. And again, Catholic grooming jokes, right? Like there's a million of them. You know of them. Probably makes you really defensive, but you know, it's all pretty valid, I'd say. I don't think you have a great standard for what like the normalcy people should be returning to is.
In fact, that's a high problem for transgender identity in general. There's no difference between a transgender woman, quote unquote, and a gender non-conforming man who dresses and acts like a woman but says he's a man.
Well, there is actually. It's an identity thing. So you would ask.
So it's coming back to self-ID. So why is trans kid not Spider-Man? You can't point to any empirical or identifiable difference. They look the same. They act the same. Everything about them the same, except what they say. I identify this way. Correct. What does that mean?
Like, this is like saying there's no difference between a Packers fan and a person who isn't a Packers fan because you can draw blood samples from both of them, and there's no difference based on them.
Okay, no one's saying that being a Packers
Thomas
fan...
has the fan thing when he talks about self-ID.
Yeah, what exactly does he say? But he probably points out that, like, if someone says they're a Packers fan, they've never been to a Packers game, never watched a Packers game, doesn't know any of the players of the team, can we really say he's a Packers fan?
Exactly. So there is, regardless, even if you self-ID and people believe you, that doesn't mean it's actually what...
Like, not both being Packers fans. Like what? Like it's again. Like yeah. It's like forget what identity means. If you want to talk about biological sex, then sure, talk about it.
The two individuals dress and act the same. One merely claims to be a woman, but even though the term would have absolutely no meaning for him.
This trend, and yet somehow there does seem to be a pretty robust, distinct social categorization system that allows for there to be differences between feminine men and trans women. You know.
Wait, what is the social condition though? The only difference they can find is self-ID. He's saying they both meet the same exact social conditions.
Yeah.
Only difference is one identifies as a man.
Yeah, like they like all the same things. Exteriorly and interiorly, they are identical. But the only difference is one says I identify as a man and one says I identify as a woman.
So there's
whatever.
no social or
But
empirical
yeah, what
difference.
is the difference other than what you identify as, which has no basis in...
And that's the part that's non-empirical. He'll say it's empirical because you can study the people who feel that way, but that's not what that means.
But if Spider-Man syndrome, if people start identifying as
I would
Spider-Man,
love to know what he would say to
as
that.
it builds, similarly, this whole race...
If it becomes common where people identify as Spider-Man, will you accept it? And if he says, yes, I would say, why are you not accepting it now? It's not
very progressive.
It's not progressive to wait until
it's the majority.
Exactly.
It's not really a mix-up that happens that much in real life, kind of like a non-existent problem. This taxonomical distinction over an arbitrary social category like gender, like, what if we've ruined millions of people's lives just to preserve the cleanliness of this arbitrary set of definitions? Trans woman is biologically...
That's not at all what we're doing, though.
My goodness.
We're not saying we have to protect these categories of man and woman. We're saying these categories are based in biology. However, you're allowed to express yourself any way you want. No one is saying girls cannot play sports. No one is saying boys cannot like to cook or whatever.
And we're not even saying boys can't wear dresses. We're not trying to legislate against
not even
that.
necessarily. Like, we might say that's confusing to the culture, but no one's like...
No one's outlawing stuff like that. We're outlawing...
More like a cis woman than a cis man. And you would want to tell your doctor all of this. If you came into a doctor's office as a trans woman, having not gone through a male puberty, and having been on hormones your whole life, basically, and you say, yep, I'm a man, XY chromosomes, that wouldn't tell the doctor very much at all. I mean, your genitals certainly wouldn't function and operate like a cisgender man's would. Your entire body would be awash with chemicals that make it act differently to how, say, my body goes. Man, I'm just spitting here, aren't I? I'm just laying that shit down. Why let me talk for this long?
No, it would tell the doctor a ton. It would explain what's wrong with his body and why he...
This is where it becomes transmedicalist.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, sorry.
He's presenting with certain female features, even though he doesn't have...
You go to the doctor with a broken arm, and the doctor's like, what is this? What's wrong with you? And you're like, well, I fell off my bike. And he's like, no, why do you have breasts? And you're like, well, what? Why is your...
Okay, yeah, no one's saying when you go in with a broken arm, the doctor probably doesn't care if you're male or female. That's, just not even...
Your skin's so smooth. What? Yeah. My arm broke. Why does your voice sound like that? Like, what? The purpose of going to a doctor when you're trans...
All the arguments that he doesn't actually engage with, he just makes a joke and moves on.
Exactly. is like a guessing game for the doctor to discover that you're trans,
Ovaries, a uterus, or a vagina. You would tell your doctor, I'm a biological male who takes massive amounts of female hormones.
Well, you would say, I'm a trans woman, which is what well, first of all, they don't take massive amounts. You can't just take like a giant gallon of it. You just take the hormones. It's not... Trans women don't take an unusual amount of estrogen relative to, like, say, estrogen or testosterone treatments for cisgender women and men, respectively. It's just you take the hormones. It's not like a huge amount. Secondly, if you go in there and you say, I'm a trans woman, you would, in fact, be communicating that you were born biologically male and that you've been taking hormones. You just like your term more because it dehumanizes.
Do you hear that? If you tell the doctor, I'm a trans woman, you are telling him that you've been taking hormones. That's transmedicalism.
Correct.
He's saying that a person born male cannot identify as a woman without taking
or at
hormones.
least, or maybe to be the best case scenario for Vaush would be saying trans woman would, in today's point in time, would culturally signify that you've done something.
But not necessarily.
I know, but I'm saying
I'm
saying for his best case scenario, it would be the fact that you're mentioning it directly to your doctor would be safe to assume that you've done some medical steps to put you in that direction.
Right.
But, like you said, correct, if I say I'm a trans woman, that does not imply any surgery or any hormonal anything.
Because
no surgery or medication.
And based on his view, because there's such a wide spectrum of sex that you're born with, as well as a wide spectrum of hormones or treatments or whatever, going in and saying you're either a woman or a female doesn't actually tell the doctor anything. Mm-hmm. In his worldview, they have to go in and say, hi, I was born this way, but I've been taking this hormone, but now I'm... It's just like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are plenty of trans people who do not do any sort of medical treatment. They just dress differently, go by a different name, get their hair cut, whatever.
Or hypothetically, nothing.
Or nothing. Like, in theory, you don't have to do anything.
Tomboy versus identify as a boy.
Exactly.
But it's actually less accurate. If you went over to a doctor and said, "Hi, look past my giant, ripe, steaming tits. I am a biological male who has taken oceans of hormones," they would look at you like you're crazy because that would be a crazy thing to say. Whereas if you say, "I'm a trans woman," then...
Are you really telling me that a trans woman and a cis woman is not going to have any medical implications for a doctor?
He's still operating through the broken arm thing. He's not thinking about, if you go to a gynecologist and you say, yeah, I'm a trans woman, they're going to be like, what are you doing?
Well, here's
the
thing.
What can I do for you?
Here's a fun fact. If a male takes a urine sample and a pregnancy test and it comes out positive, that is a sign of testicular cancer. Not super accurately. No one would ever say that's super accurate.
Yeah.
So if you go to your doctor and you're a trans woman and you take a pregnancy test and comes out positive, the doctor is going to be misled into thinking, oh, you're pregnant. So you have to tell them that you're male because these have implication. Is no, actually you have testicular cancer.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
I agree. You in today's age, you have to disclose like, hi, I'm a man. I'm also a male. I've not taken any hormones. Unfortunately, that's the state we're in. But his thing that you just go in and the doctor like, based on social norms, I know that you're a woman, and since you've been taking hormones, I treat you like a cis woman. But this is obviously not.
All of this just falls apart because let's say you were born assigned male at birth, and you transition to a woman, but now you identify as a male again.
Okay. No, like you detransition?
Correct. Yeah, like a detransitioner. Yeah. And now you go to the doctor. You should, even though you're saying, yeah, I'm a male, I'm a man, whatever you want to say, those things are still going to be something that the doctor is either going to notice or you're going to talk to him about, or that's going to be something...
Regardless of what your current state is, you should disclose your medical history to your doctor if it's relevant to a treatment you're receiving.
Correct. If it's a broken arm, he doesn't matter if it's a guy who has breasts. But exactly. if it's something to do with testicular cancer and you have breasts, he's going to be like, well, were you a man who became a woman or a woman who became a man?
And you can just never ask because it's... I don't know.
Yeah.
That would make more sense and be less crazy. So,
side note, there was an old Steven Crowder bit where he goes into a Planned Parenthood, dressed as a woman, and it's like very clearly like he's not actually a woman, and then he used his wife's urine in a pregnancy test, and it came out positive, and the workers were just like, "Oh, congrats!" Like they didn't know what to say, but they didn't say anything about like you might have cancer.
That's hilarious.
Like, so that's funny.
I don't know the last time I'd seen a Stephen Crowder video.
Rest in peace.
He didn't die, did he?
But like his career's over, and like I don't really. But.
Just see, this is me trying to pull you towards normalcy here. I'm trying to like drag you back to how normal humans think and talk.
This is assuming that Trent's watching this.
What if you had a machine that didn't change? Oh fuck! Is he going to talk about the gender of your soul thing? Okay, the chromosomes, but change everything that the chromosomes would themselves change. So you had a person who was XY, but had a vagina, a functioning womb, breasts, so on and so forth. Right? There are people like that, right? The XXY development.
No, there aren't people like that. XXY is Klinefelter syndrome. These are biological males who have stunted development. It's
okay. So. If Vaush was actually paying attention at all during his debate with Dr. Bogardus, he would know that chromosomes do not play into the definition of biological sex.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if you change everything about someone except for their chromosomes don't play into it. It's what gametes are they producing, or what gametes are they...
The proper function.
Function.
If their body parts were properly functioning, what gametes would they produce? Yeah.
So like theoretically, if you go in a machine and actually change your sex, it would be like, okay, cool, then I guess that's possible. That's not what trans people are doing though.
Obviously, they are men, not women.
Was I thinking of the XY? Hold on. Haven't we done this before?
Sure he said XXY, but yeah.
I think he misspoke, but then he still
as a real ally, I could remember all of the sex and gender thingies, but I can't.
As an ally.
Because my brain is small.
Base. Just zoom in on that.
Signs and symptoms of Klinefelter syndrome will vary among males and disorder. Which was the condition where you can have an extra chromosome, not Down syndrome, you know what I mean? That doesn't impair your like sex expression. Androgen insensitivity. Oh, was I thinking of androgen insensitivity, like hyperandrogen insensitivity?
So he misspoke, but he's going to double down.
Okay.
Where you're just completely not at all. What is this? Let me see. XY gonadal dysgenesis. Defect hypergonadism, and where a karyotype is 46XY. Normal vulvas, person has underdeveloped gonads. Fibrous tissue team, streak gonads left untreated. Will not experience puberty. Turner syndrome due to lack of X inactivation. The typical medical treatment is hormone replacement therapy. This keeps coming up, huh?
Yeah, we wouldn't say hormone replacement therapy is always...
Yeah, correct.
Sometimes it's appropriate.
Exactly.
Anyway, if a person has XXY, Klinefelter syndrome, would that not be a new sex?
No.
No. Let's look at what he... Klinefelter syndrome, also called 47 people who are assigned male at birth. If you Google right now...
it says affects development in people who are assigned male at birth.
If you Google right now, can a female get Klinefelter? It'll say no. Klinefelters only affects males. All people with Klinefelters are male.
Yeah.
So no, it is not a third sex.
That's funny, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. He doubles down on this really bad example. Yeah. What's interesting here, though, is he's going to take this probably who are assigned male at birth to mean like, oh, they saw a penis and they just assumed male. But they weren't actually.
But that's not how...
But if you look into Klinefelter, if you do any sort of research into it, it'll be clear. Klinefelter's people are male.
Yeah.
You cannot be a female.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Because people like this tend to say that sex is determined by your chromosomes, right? So
No.
if
you listen to the debate with Thomas Bogardus, instead of being on probably playing a video game during it.
Nice, Rose. That was good.
And you would know this.
Is this its own sex, or like
the biological view that I expressed that women are adult human females, and you brought up, you said, we haven't always known about chromosomes. Again, I don't think that chromosomes figure into the definition of biological sex. You also mentioned intersex people. I think it is based on a misunderstanding. I don't think that biological sex is defined in terms of chromosomes or genitals or hormone levels. And you can see that by just considering the full range of the plant and animal kingdom and how the sexes are realized across the plant and animal kingdom. And you'll see that there's no facts about genitals figure into the definition, nothing about hormones, nothing about chromosomes. So we can talk about that a little more if you'd like and try to get clear on what biological sex really is. So I agree that if you ask people what is biological sex or what is it to be male or what is it to be female, you'll often get from ordinary people answers in terms of genitals or chromosomes or maybe hormone levels or maybe like stereotypes. But as we briefly discussed during our little back and forth, if you accept that sexual reproduction, it occurs across the animal and plant kingdom and has been going on for a very long time.
Is this its own sex, or like how are we treating that? You know, or is it just the effects that?
If you were listening to Dr. Thomas instead of looking at your chat and when what they had to say about Dr. Thomas,
hard water and aqua.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You gave the example. One of your arguments against the biological definition of woman was that we didn't know about chromosomes many years ago. Well, first of all, I don't think biological sex is defined in terms of chromosomes. But let's just use the example of water. Maybe we could agree that water is H2O. That was true even before we knew about chemistry. That was the definition of water before anybody knew anything about chemistry, before we knew about H2O. Back when Aristotle thought water was just an element. Nevertheless, it was H2O.
True.
I'm sorry?
This isn't true.
That water has not always been H2O?
Yeah, all you have to do is cross the Mexican border. And over there, it's aqua. That's H2O, not water.
Aqua means water. Aqua is water.
It's a different term.
Actually, it's agua. It's not aqua, right?
And we're referring to terms and definitions here.
No, I'm referring to water, the stuff that fills lakes and rivers. I'm not talking about the word water.
Many things fill lakes and rivers.
Okay. Do you honestly not know what I mean when I talk about water, or are you just being a little difficult?
I think you made a mistake before you began that argument, which is that you said just because people didn't always know something doesn't mean that it can't be true. Where the chromosomes have on you through hormones. And then there's the androgen insensitivity thing. I think this is the thing that I was thinking of here, where a person is XY but completely resistant to the androgen. Here, hold on. Androgen insensitivity syndrome. People with AIS are genetically male, but don't develop male external genitals because their body can't respond to male sex hormones. Yeah. So complete androgen insensitivity syndrome basically means that even though you're XY, your body just doesn't.
So it prevents them from developing male genitals.
Technically, they're male.
It sounds like it's saying they're male, but they're not able to develop any male characteristics, like biologically or like in any external way, and they start developing female external like phenotypes.
But from Vaush's point of view, it's like the gametes you produce, your testicles or your vagina or whatever, your sex hormones. Those are all just like equally important things, and then if you have a mixture of them, then you're intersex. Is basically what he would say. So it's like
not respond to the wacky shit the Y chromosome is doing. Condition. Yeah, so you would be, genotypically male and phenotypically female. Thank you, Darby Doll. Yeah, exactly. Ultimate femboy? Kind of, yeah, I guess. So, whoa! Wikipedia? That's fine.
That's funny. That's funny.
I probably should guess that, though. Though, if you did briefly see the bottom right corner of the screen, you could get a feel for the phenotypical expression of these hyperandrogen insensitive individuals.
He just tried to say as many big words as close together as possible.
He's so much jargon.
Anyway, what are we going on about here?
You probably don't know because you haven't been responding to it.
Oh, I clicked on the... Hold on. There we go. Development.
No, there aren't people like that. XXY is Klinefelter syndrome. These are biological males who have stunted development. It's obvious they are men, not women. And you can make all kinds of science fiction arguments.
I mean, what does that mean? It's obvious they are men, not women. They don't have XY chromosomes. What is that?
Okay, but Trent's not saying it obviously, like, they look like a male. And again, we've already pointed out XY doesn't matter.
Yeah, the thing is, Trent doesn't say, well, they have XXY chromosomes, therefore they're obviously male. He didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying they're obviously male.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Based on
could you give me like the scientific breakdown of that? It's obvious they are men.
Look up if Klinefelter can affect women.
Like by what standard? They don't have XY chromosomes. They have XY chromosomes.
Why is he still hanging on this chromosome thing?
Vaush will probably say Klinefelter is being classified as male is just a social construct.
Yeah,
that's a different chromosome layout. Common sense. Do you not sense their aura? Yeah, I suppose.
Arguments about changing everything about a person's body except for their DNA, but that's not possible.
The last section here is Vaush comments on priests, and I can tell from the screenshots the rest of it is him calling me a pedophile. Oh, that really did get to him. All right, we're not going to watch
He
that.
doesn't call
He's
you
saying
pedophile.
I'm not going to watch it.
He doesn't call you pedophile.
But he's going to say I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to even entertain that.
He wishes the extent of the evidence against the Catholic Church was limited to a bunch of bad faith YouTube videos, okay? As opposed to, I don't know, like a century and a half of cover-up. Just saying.
We should base it on science fact. And it's a scientific...
We should base it on science fact. Also...
Even if there's cover-up, that doesn't make the Catholic Church wrong. Like, truth claims are different than actions, I guess.
It's obvious that XSY Klinefelter syndrome individuals are men. You know, based on... It's obvious. Yeah.
Fact that human beings exist in a sexual binary. This is something...
It's obvious that there are only two sexes, because we know that there are only two sexes.
Whoa, someone in chat, that can't be true. They said Jamie Lee Curtis is Klinefelter's and it's a girl. Is that true?
And basically,
I would not. I'm not going to trust Vaush's chat.
Well, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis has given birth to children, so there's no way.
There's no way. Yeah, she doesn't have Klinefelter.
Like phenotypically women who just happen to have XY chromosomes, but they're not like androgen sensitive.
I think you're saying she has short hair.
It's a total binary of sex. Never mind the fact that like actual medical and scientific organizations, like thank you very much. This is from the American Science. Which paper published this?
Dude, this is the worst graph of all.
Sex
time.
refers to a set of
Earth is this? Okay, listen.
It's a sex spectrum.
Listen, now hold on.
But it's just so
horrible.
bad.
How am I supposed to read this? Where do I start?
Widely
used.
It's
been debunked.
Well, if you assume from the get-go that we have a sexual binary, then we have a sexual.
Oh yeah, this isn't gender. This is sex spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
This is insane.
You know, simple as.
And it,
Whoa, why is it saying typical biological male? Is that just?
It implies that a male with everything equal, but they have lower hormone levels, they are less male. They're on the males.
This is the whole bimodal thing.
Exactly, and they'll never admit to that, but that's what it. That's what it necessarily.
Scientific American. That's what it was.
Biologists like Richard Dawkins and Jerry Coyne strongly defend.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me Richard Dawkins' take on the subject. You know, well-known contemporary medical expert Richard Dawkins. Thank you very.
Okay, he's not a medical expert, but he is an evolutionary biologist.
True.
I'm not going to say that Richard Dawkins is like smart or anything. Obviously, he's not ingrained with religious dogma, and he's not.
Correct.
So,
he doesn't have.
He's an expert in biology.
Yeah. So, he doesn't have this Catholic bias or whatever Vaush is talking about.
When people say there are 100 genders, for example, yeah, I'm not interested in that. As a biologist, there are two sexes, and that's all there is to it.
Well done. Got him. Got his ass.
Stands for body integrity identity disorder.
Okay, so see how Vaush just skipped past? He said, Richard Dawkins, thanks for bringing up him. He's such a premier academic in this area, and then just doesn't say anything.
Is when someone looks at like saying something like their hand and says, "This isn't my hand. It feels foreign to me," or "These legs feel foreign to me." In fact, there was a documentary I watched a number of years ago about a woman who she perceived herself to be a paraplegic. She perceived herself that her legs didn't work.
Again, this is a mismatch between how you perceive. This is where I talked about the difference between dysphoria and.
He paused on
I did a pretty
himself.
good job here explaining the difference between the two. I feel like this was pretty instructive. I was happy with this video. I'm pretty happy with how that part came out. You know. Perceive your body to be and what your body actually is. It's a disconnect between empirical, like verifiable bits of information, not a dissatisfaction with the way that your body. So at this point, he's going the person.
No, it is.
He's pausing on himself. This is confusing me.
No,
Okay,
but
sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is the original video. Let me rewind here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me hear. Yeah.
Again, this is a mismatch between how you. This is where I talked about the difference between dysphoria and dysmorphia. I think I did a pretty good job here explaining the difference between the two. I feel like this was pretty instructive. I was happy with this video.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm pretty happy with how that part came out.
Okay, I'm ready.
Perceive your body to be and what your body actually is. It's a disconnect between empirical, like verifiable bits of information, not a dissatisfaction.
So real quick, so before you continue, so he's saying the difference between dysmorphia and dysphoria. One is about the belief you have about your body, and one is your actual body.
I think so.
So, I guess wait. Let me just let him finish. Hold on.
The distinction's right.
Perceive your body to be and what your body actually is. It's a disconnect between empirical, like verifiable bits of information, not a dissatisfaction with the way that your body. So at this point, he's going. The person who's making the video we're watching, he's going to pause this and go, "Well, your sex." He's going to ignore the gender sex thing. Your sex is an empirical fact of reality, right? So by being trans and being,
which is true. Yeah. Vaush does not debunk that at all, other than putting up a crappy flow chart that was spectrum, whatever you want to call it.
You're delusional about it, actually. So that's what he's going to do now, I think. He is.
When you look at people with body identity integrity disorder, you see an uncanny resemblance to transgender identity. Here's a video about a woman with this condition in the UK. Notice how it's so similar to transgender identity.
Wait, okay. All right. Sure, how? Let's see.
The person feels that their healthy body is wrong and...
Okay, let's just break this down bit by bit because this is a really stupid comparison, so I feel like we should milk this for as much as we can in terms of sort of like tearing into it. Okay.
Okay, so let's be uncharitable to the people we're engaging with.
He's going to attempt to be charitable, but he's
but if you say, "Oh, this is a bad argument, let me milk this as much as possible." That's not how you engage with a person. You'd say, "Let me look at their strongest arguments."
Before even hearing it out,
he says, "This is a horrible example, so let's milk this for everything we can get out of it."
But
that's not good faith.
He's not even going to do it.
That's not good faith. But yeah, let's take his bad faith argument and clap him with it.
So, a person thinks their healthy body is wrong. coming from a Catholic especially, is a descriptor so vague it could include people who then go on to get piercings or tattoos. Like, that is such a vague descriptor that it means absolutely nothing, especially to a person who is such like I don't know.
That's rich coming from a gender abolitionist.
Well, yeah.
but yeah, just
piercings or tattoos. Like, that is such a vague descriptor that it means absolutely nothing, especially to a person who is such like I don't know. The orthodox views towards the like worth and weight of the human body. You know, you could say this about a person who's getting glasses, right? They're perfectly normal, God-given body. They thought it was wrong, but all right.
So he catched himself. He used the example of glasses, normal healthy body part. Then he realizes, oh shoot, people get glasses when their eyes aren't working properly.
Correct.
And then he just like
that's hilarious.
Like, here, watch it again.
That's
Watch
hilarious.
It.
Yeah, play that again.
He uses a really bad
This is
example
hilarious.
that proves our point.
Yeah.
I think he realizes it and then just tries to
He started with tattoos and piercings and he went to glasses.
Which, like, tattoos and piercings, okay. You're not really mutilating. Like, a piercing is not necessarily mutilating your body. If you, like, straight up, like, cut off your ear, that would be mutilation. A piercing is not mutilation. Tattoos are not necessarily mutilation. There could be a point where it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're talking about generally is a healthy body part being either, in this case, like, cut off or paralyzed.
Yeah.
Same thing with transgender surgery. You're taking a healthy body part and you're making it no longer functional.
So hold on, is it replaying?
Especially to a person who is such like I don't know. Orthodox views towards the like worth and weight of the human body. You know, you could say this about a person who's getting glasses, right? They're perfectly normal, God-given body. They thought it was wrong, but all right.
He just goes, but all right, that's hilarious.
I think he realized.
You
how
should
bad
make that
of
a short. That is hilarious.
He realized it was a bad example.
He straight up goes, perfect, God-given body that. All right.
And then he realized, hang on a second.
He realized, hold on.
People get glasses when their eyes don't work properly.
Correct. Eyes are supposed to function in a certain way where you can see things clearly.
So stupid.
Not infinitely, but to a certain extent, you should see things.
One more time.
But glasses, right? They're perfectly normal, God-given body. They thought it was wrong, but all right.
Needs to be changed to correspond to a faulty internal psychological.
That's hilarious. He perfectly.
He realized
perfect God-given
it's like,
body.
Do you remember that James White thing with How to Be Christian, where he like realized he read it wrong and it just like, all right.
Yeah, it's just like an all right, move on. Which, like, the thing is, if you are saying something and you realize, oh, that's not what I meant to say, you fix it. You don't,
hang on, that's a bad example.
Yeah, hang on, that's one thing. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. It's different than, oh, I realize that's a bad example. Let me give a better one.
And you probably could think of it, like, I'm trying to think of, like, what is a surgery that a Catholic should not get?
Cosmetic surgery. That's not corrective.
I think, well, yeah. If it's
so I would say if you're a burn victim and you want to get your skin to look like it was before, or you broke your nose and you need it to get fixed
to
make it look like it, and
that you are making a healthy, functioning body part no longer function. I'm just saying, like, the fact that he used the example of glasses is just like it totally backfired. I think he realized it.
Exactly. And yeah, even if you were to get like laser eye surgery, that would still be corrective. You'd still be fixing a defect.
Exactly.
Yeah, like hearing aids, whatever you say.
Now, if you like replaced your healthy functioning eyes with like cyborg eyes or something,
so that you could see further.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
different.
That would
that's
be
a whole transhumanism argument.
I think that would be we would be consistent.
Yeah. Whoa, hold on there. Yeah, I would say that this condition and transgenderism are the same, and that they're both retarded. Look at the uncanny similarities between how these two things operate. If you look closely, you might notice they're both stupid and dumb. That concludes my point. Yeah, okay.
Now
you're
what are
going
you
to presume the values in the comparison. You're not really making a comparison. You're just
not even
going to
pause on this
over again with like more like pretense, I guess.
View of themselves.
Chloe Jennings White spends her days confined to a wheelchair.
That was it?
It's tough
That was the
around,
comparison?
and she struggles with living in a world that isn't built for the disabled. However, Chloe is actually able to walk perfectly and chooses to live her life like a paraplegic due to a rare psychological disorder called BIID. BIID has led Chloe.
Wait, was that seriously the end of the comparison? All that guy had to say was, look at the uncanny similarities between these two things. They're both like delusional.
No.
Okay, moving on.
But university-educated research scientist to harm herself in a bid to become paraplegic for real.
I have fantasies about having a car wreck and becoming paraplegic from a car wreck.
So wait, out of curiosity, by the way, what would you suggest? So
he's basically saying, what is the comparison? I don't get it. It's like, it should be pretty obvious to everyone watching this.
Yeah.
Trent Horn didn't spoon feed it to you, but I guess we do have to spoon feed
it
to you.
If you're watching.
This lady has healthy, functioning legs. She doesn't want them to function, so she intends, and she says later on, she finds a surgeon who, she goes to like Thailand or some other country.
Some random other country.
And they will paralyze you to conform with your dysmorphia.
Because the thing is...
So why is this crazy, but transgenderism isn't?
Yeah, and the other weird thing is, when you saw her walking... Okay, so let's just make the analogy make sense. Mm-hmm. If people are saying, yeah, this doesn't really make sense. We're saying her body is a particular way. She sees it as not. And she wishes that it would be different. So she goes and gets it changed.
But she wishes.
But the thing is, she pretends to be paraplegic prior to the surgery, right?
It seemed like it. Yeah, she's getting pushed around in a wheelchair.
Exactly. So if it's prior
because it
to
helps her dysphoria.
Exactly.
She knows that her legs are working, but it helps her feel better.
Exactly.
But she would feel even more better if her legs really didn't.
Exactly. So there's two things. One, if you need your legs to get paralyzed, you're trans medicalist.
Yeah.
If you don't need it, it's still analogous because you're saying, I wish I was paraplegic. I would like to be paraplegic. I'm going to behave like I'm paraplegic. That last part, I want to behave like I'm paraplegic, is I want to act like a woman, which I don't know what that means, but anyway,
so
yeah.
It's just
the
like
thing is,
it's just
this,
like yeah.
So there's the only way that this analogy breaks down is that being non-paraplegic has set 100% always the same attribute. So your legs work if you're not paraplegic. Now, if you're a woman, there's biological factors, but if you don't hold on to that, then there's no constant basis for what a woman is.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where he's saying he's not smart enough to say that's where the analogy falls apart. But for him, if you say gender has nothing to do with sex, you're a paraplegic. The thing is, people who are non-paraplegic always have the ability to use their legs. Versus women, throughout time and history, sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's blue, whatever. It's never a constant thing. So that's where the analogy falls for him. But he's not even able to point that out. Well, he's not even willing to take the analogy at what it is and say, well, it falls apart because under my view, sex and gender are different. So this whole gender thing, if you identify as a woman, that could mean something different now than it did 200 years ago. But he's not saying that. He's saying, well, Trent is just saying, look at this and look at how it's the same. No, he talked about the body properly functioning, how it's doing this or that. So Trent's arguing against the medical actions towards transgenderism. He's not saying just identifying.
Yeah.
Trent's not arguing against self-ID.
The parallel would be a male, born male, biologically male, has a functioning penis, knows that it still functions, but wants to get a surgery to get it removed.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, he recognizes that it functioned, but also tries to ignore it, which is her using the wheelchair.
Correct.
How is that any different? He hasn't pointed out why that's different.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. All he's doing is saying, oh, well, the guy that made the video, whoever he is, he's just saying, look at how similar it is, and that's it. He's not even willing to say, oh, well, let's see, let me tell you guys, my viewers, why this is not analogous. He's not even doing that.
He's just
and I've even pointed out the best way that he could say it's not analogous, and he doesn't even know that.
Yeah.
Surely the priest making this video would agree that it's better that she use the wheelchair but still have functioning legs than to actually have her legs removed, right? Excuse me.
Yes, it would be better.
Yes.
All else being equal, it would be better to not mutilate yourself.
Correct.
It would still be not the correct mental state to be in.
Yeah. I agree.
To use a wheelchair when you don't mean it. I mean, that falls under delusion, I would feel like.
Correct.
Right?
There's two things, because I guess this has a lot to do
if she gets her legs paralyzed, she's no longer delusional because she really needs a wheelchair.
Correct.
But is it really better?
But did that help her? So it's the whole question of, if you have this delusion, should you just confirm it by getting surgery, or is it better to live in that delusional state that's bad for your mental health? And it's like, okay, well, that's a good question. If you believe that reality exists and truth exists, you should live in that mental state, and you should get help for that mental state.
Yeah.
If you live in La La Land where there's no such thing as reality, there's no such thing as truth, all the categories are made up, then you should get the surgery so that your delusion becomes correct.
Yeah.
And that's the disconnect between Vaush and us.
Or even if we take Vaush's position about sex, gender, different, gender, social contract, we should be pushing towards a society that says, hey, you don't have to get the surgery to be a woman.
Exactly.
All you have to do is identify. And maybe you can present that way if you want to, but even if you don't have to.
That's what I'm saying. Self-ID needs to be pushed more than surgery.
And all it comes back to is the surgery is proven to lower their suicide rate, but with no meaningful connection to why it would. But again, point being is that would you do that for any other thing?
Correct.
If Christianity was proved, practicing Christianity lowered your suicide rate, would Vaush stop, dunking on Christianity? Probably not. He probably still
exactly. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's like
it's the same thing. Yeah,
it's like, is it better to have a hard life because you know the truth, or should you convince yourself of what is not true so that you can do you want to live in blissful ignorance where you make reality conform to what you think it is, or do you want to live based on what reality actually is? Yeah.
I just wonder, what would the best case scenario be here? I'm kind of curious.
Perhaps most shockingly of all, London-born Chloe is on a quest to find a surgeon willing to operate in order to paralyze her legs forever.
I did find a surgeon in another country who would be prepared to do femoral and sciatic nerve transections to paralyze my legs. It would be at least $25,000. I don't have the money to do it.
What's the parallel with trans people? I have no idea. We're also at the end of this section, which means...
You really, I'm going to assume he's blissfully ignorant, because he's...
Yeah.
But it's like you really don't see the comparison. Trent's not spelling it out because it is obvious to everyone except for you. So it's like, I don't know.
No idea. We're also at the end of this section, which means that actually was the end of the argument from him.
Basically, the only reason that I've not yet had surgery.
Finally, we get your class.
That was it. That actually was the end of the argument. He was like, yeah, look at these incredible parallels here, and then said nothing. And in the final section is...
He did say something. He talked about functioning body, doing whatever. He did say
really
that.
Not like, if Trent was writing like a academic paper, he would have to explain it because you have to assume people are stupid.
But this is a 15-minute video for people to consume easily
and everyone understands except for you and your chat apparently.
Yeah.
Or just pretending to not know. I don't know.
Tim Malding about me making references to the very well-documented, well-known fact that the Catholic Church systemically abuses young children and covers it up by shuffling priests around to send them to new areas for children, because doing so would incur less criticism from the press than just sort of like openly allowing them to be tried. I want the Malding. I'm sure you do. And watch the video. Listen, this has been retarded from start to finish, okay? I'm not giving this guy a platform to just whine about how the...
And he doesn't play the Trent part, which is funny because that's where he points out Vaush's like very concerning views on other things.
Not giving him a platform is crazy, but since he's watched his whole video, he's just saying, oh, it's been retarded from the start, so I'm not going to finish the video. No, he doesn't want to expose himself more, but
The Catholic Church is actually less pedophilic than known YouTuber Vaush. That being said, being accused of being a pedophile from a Catholic, man, talk about field expertise, Mike,
And see, again, that's
so he's doubling down on it.
That's the implication that, for some reason,
But he's not even saying priest. He's saying being a Catholic makes you more likely to be...
It's okay. And I would say that's very prejudicial and discriminatory.
Correct.
Especially considering that the rate of abuse is not significantly higher than the regular population.
Yeah, and saying that Catholic teaching on marriage and sex will always prevent pedophilia versus cultural norms will, like minor attracted persons.
Right.
Like that kind of thing is going to... Our teaching is bulletproof.
Even if the actions of some of our members are wrong, it doesn't mean that our teaching's wrong.
Correct, because our teaching is currently and always will be bulletproof to pedophilic actions.
Mm-hmm.
Cultural norms will not always be.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
And I'd love if Vaush looked up what is the percentage of boys versus girls abused by priests.
Yeah.
What's the connection there? He would probably be like, oh, that's super unfair to like place on homosexuality. If you point out that certain races commit more crimes than others, would it be fair to make jokes about like, oh, well, he's black, so he would know about crime?
Exactly.
Even if the percentage was bigger, it would be wrong.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have that.
If he was just watching a video from a black person, he's like, oh, well, he probably,
he knows
kills people. He does all this gang violence and drugs.
He knows all about killing people.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be so wrong. Even if there was a statistical
let's say it was a black person talking about abortion. And he was like, oh, this is rich, talking about killing babies when you kill, gangbangers every day. It's like, sir, that's not how this works. Like,
it's just coping. And I'd love for him to actually...
See if he has anything. Does he have anything else?
I don't think he does.
Got a sting, huh? Yeah,
Just reading chat.
See, he's just waiting for chat to say something.
Waiting for him to give him an example about hard water and ice. And about how ice is different than water.
Aqua. I know Spanish. Aqua Espanol.
But everyone, like, when he posted the debate, all the comments think he, like, won. It's just
my gosh.
They can't admit that, like, your man didn't win that.
Can we at least say, look to Thomas Bogardus and say, well, this is the best defender of male-female binary, and say,
or just the philosophy of gender.
That's what I'm saying. So he's put out this thing, and dude, his PowerPoint presentation that he put in the debate, where he's like, no matter which view you take out of like 7 or 8 views,
none of them work.
Or trans women, women,
Vaush
no.
had to jump between them to make any sort of
to
have an escape hatch.
So like, can we honestly and legitimately react to the leading gender philosopher for our side? Because we've been engaging with what they have to say.
Just go watch his debate with the Bogardus if you want.
Seriously.
It's seriously pretty embarrassing.
So if I were to ask someone, what does male mean? They might say XY chromosomes or something like that. And you'd say that's their definition. But I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right use of the word definition. I would have thought that you don't look towards their conceptions, the sort of associations they have in their mind when they use a word. And you don't even look at the way people use words, because it's possible for a word to be systematically misused. What you should look at is what the word actually refers to. It might be commonly misused, and people might have mistaken conceptions about what it is. But the true definition, the real definition
so you just
of the
get
word,
to infer the divine definition, like all the people are wrong, the science. Well,
we do investigation. Let me give you an example. If you had asked Aristotle what is water, he might have given you his conception, and he would have said something like it's an element, although he would have said it in Greek. Yeah, and it might have been possible. Yeah, it's probably possible that some people have systematically misused the word water if they were unwilling to attribute it to ice. But here's how we figured out what water is. We did some chemistry and we investigated the lakes and the rivers and the ice, and we found out, oh wow, turns out water's not an element, it's a molecule, it's H2O. We did something similar with biological sex. We noticed this interesting distinction in nature, which I think you yourself acknowledge. There's this phenomenon of sexual reproduction, and we get these two subtypes within a lot of species. Some of them produce sperm, some of them produce ova.